Today is a very exciting day here in Italy. It is Monday, even though this video is coming out on Friday, but today is the first day that we are allowed to be outside again without masks on. It feels like forever since I've been to Venice, so I am bringing you guys along with me for the ride. So let's go to Venice and have some fun. Of course, as always, I'm Rafael di Furia. Welcome to Not Your Average Globetrotter. And let's just go to Venice. Well, it's been more than a year. And I'm already back. This has been interesting to see here, this rapid COVID testing here, but a year, 1 month, and 2 days since I was last here in the city. It definitely feels great to be back. And what's even more surprising is to see all of the tourists. In one way, it's definitely refreshing. The other way, I do happen to miss that experience that I had last year where I practically felt like I had the town to myself. I mean, Venice is such a beautiful place. And the thing is, this is probably the first time I've seen it not overrun by tourists, but they're still here nonetheless. But as time goes on today, I'm curious about what languages I'll hear, because last time that I was here a year ago, I was really only hearing Italian, mostly dialect, like the local dialect, which go to show that it wasn't just Italian tourists, but people from this area, or just the people who are living here. But now, something interesting to me is that Americans can come back here now. So what's the situation? Are they going to be traveling here? Are they actually already traveling here? Or what's going on? And last year, I went down that way, and that goes over to the old Jewish ghetto, and that's probably one of my favorite parts of the town. But this week, or this year, this time around, I'm taking you guys on a little bit of a different route, which gives you a little bit of an idea of another part of the city. This is already the Grand Canal here, and behind me is the train station. And yes, trains do come to the island town, the island city of Venice, at least to one of the islands that make up what people call Venice. So, actually, because it's possible now, the rules as of today have changed. You can actually walk around without a mask anymore, at least outside. But even those rules are a little iffy. Because yes, you technically can be outside with a mask, as long as you can keep socially distanced. If you are going to be standing in a line, if you're going to be in an area where there are a lot of people gathered, then it's a little bit of a different situation. It really is such a wonderful treat to be back here again, because it's such a fun little city. But as many of you know, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Venice. I love the way it is. I love Venice for the town that it is, but at times it's just a bit too touristy for me. So all these little alleyways, which are kind of the main ways to get through the town, it's fun, it's cute. It's part of the flavor that really makes Venice Venice. It's really cool to get to see, actually, that not all the gondoliers are just sitting around. People are back on the gondolas now. Huge change from last year. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to come to see. Are people here? Are people actually coming back? I mean, Americans now can come back to the country, so that's definitely a big change since last year, May time, when it was only those of us who actually live here. So definitely refreshing. One of my favorite things about Venice is it gives me the way that I like to travel. I like to travel with the intention of getting lost, and here it's impossible not to get lost. It's just another one of those little realities of coming here. Although I've been here enough times that, like, this looks familiar enough that I kind of have a rough idea of where I am. I think here, actually, I don't know if it's possible to see, but this place, you can't really see it through the window. But last year, if I'm not mistaken, that was actually a print shop where they were... Wow, another empty place. This is the point that I'm making, that I was also wondering what the situation would be. as far as closures of stores and so on, because unfortunately a lot of places nationally haven't been able to survive COVID and this whole situation. What a beautiful place. I mean, come on, how can you complain? Yeah, when you're here you gotta really keep your eyes open. Otherwise you might end up in a little dead end, and one of those dead ends could just be in the water. But that's actually one thing. I was here at night a couple of times before COVID and everything, and walking around the city is one thing during the day, but the nighttime is really when it comes alive and becomes Venice, proper Venice. And you start hearing more dialect, more locals speaking their language, and just enjoying their city without all of the big boats and everybody here. And this is how Amazon packages are delivered in Venice, if anybody's curious. Everywhere you go, you have these carts, and a lot of those carts are there for bring luggage around the city, in front of the train station and other various locations around Venice. You'll be able to find people who will take your baggage for you and so on. I've never stayed in Venice itself, so never tried it. So it's not something whether I can recommend or not recommend, just something I've never personally tried. Another one of the signs telling you which way to go. Another sign. I remember my first time trying to get back. I filmed that, uploaded that video here to my YouTube channel, and I kept following the signs, but they weren't taking me to where I wanted to go. But now I know the tricks. That's funny because I think in just about every video I've done coming to Venice, I think this is my third, I've always worn yellow. But rather than just wearing yellow today, I'm here looking like a Sprite bottle or something. More of these. Oh, I want to go down here. It's not quite the direction I was hoping to go. Oh, 80 euros, 100 euros. Interesting. But this area is really nice. There's like a piazza here. I think a church also. This bakery is pretty darn good. They've got some pizza and stuff. Yes, I definitely tried it. And if I can't find another place that seems more appetizing, I may actually go back there to have some lunch, because I've barely eaten anything today. At least barely anything more than some blueberries. Sometimes out in this area, you'll see people dancing, some live music playing. Right now, it's not happening because it's the middle of the day on a Monday, so it's not going to be super, super busy. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come now, was so that I wasn't fighting crowds to actually walk around. But even with Venice being this quiet, it is impressive nonetheless that there are this many people here. There's one place I ate at once with a friend here in 2019 that I would love to find again, because I don't normally like to go out for pasta dishes, but this one place that my friend and I happened to accidentally find was really good. And I don't know, for me, like growing up, I always felt as though if I'm gonna go get pasta, why not just have it at home? I can do it better. And even if I just do it like with dried pasta and a jar of tomato sauce, it almost defeats the purpose of getting something someplace else. So that's why, for me, if I go out, pasta is not usually my first choice, even in Italy. And even though you can get some very good pasta here. And yes, this is definitely the way that there are going to be fewer tourists. But so far, I can say I've heard a lot more Italian being spoken than other foreign languages. I've heard some English and I've heard some Spanish. But usually I would hear more languages just even along this kind of little walk here. Everywhere you go, you see like this. Ooh, that looks really good with the prosciutto and artichoke. Oh, of course it looks good. It's the same place as that other one that I was recommending before. M-A-J-E-R, Mayer, I guess. Definitely some place that I can say would be among my recommendations. Is it going to be authentically Venetian? Is it going to be something that is like truly what you should expect from this part of Italy? Not really, but it's good. It's nice to see that there are tourists back, but it still feels like Venice. Definitely improvement over the first time that I was here. Unfortunate, though, the reality is that there are fewer tourists for the businesses to be able to survive from, because tourism, look, like I said, sometimes just these little ways that you take a step too far could end up in the water, especially at night when some of these alleyways are like really dark. But what I was saying was that the reality is that these places do need tourists to survive. They need tourists to get by from day to day. So even though it is nice to see Venice more empty than it would normally be, at the same time, it's still a little disturbing. I mean, it's so great also to see that so many more of these stores, even though they're just the tourist knickknacks, it's fantastic to see them open again. Especially, I can't wait to get to Piazza San Marco, because that was unbelievable. Everything completely closed shut tight. Almost nobody sitting out on the piazza, and just nobody really around at all. There was only maybe one or two cafes that were open serving people, and even then only a couple tables that actually had people sitting at them. Well, this is definitely something new since COVID. Masks lined up in the windows like that. Definitely interesting. I always love seeing these sorts of things. This to me makes it feel like Italy. Like all the old wrappers and everything, like the old style designs that they used to use. More little yummy, delicious things. The funny thing is, as I keep going, I feel like I'm hearing more and more German. I've never heard this much German here before, but it makes sense because one of the few countries that could end up here with a large population that would often travel here anyway. Everywhere you go here, you're always going to find some little treasure somewhere. Just a church popping up, a little piazza. Although actually, I don't believe they call them piazzas here. I think they call them campo or campi, like camps, rather than piazzas. Usually, it's funny because usually when I come and take this route, I'm going the opposite direction. So I'm also trying to get my bearings a little bit because it's very strange to walk through here the opposite direction that I normally do. These are all the different mocha pots in different colors. I don't think I've seen this many colors before. I've definitely seen the Italian flag colors before, but that's really cool. Ah, this is the place where I ate with my friend. Osteria L'Antico Dollo. Yeah, this is good. I would like to eat there, but I'm feeling maybe I should be a little bit more adventurous and go to a place that I've never been to before. But it's tough to tell sometimes what are like the good places that you should go to and what are the places you should avoid. Because sometimes maybe on a street like this where it's a little bit on the side, it could actually be a little bit less touristy, but sometimes it's even more touristy than the main paths. This feels like it has potential. And they also have carpaccio. And I haven't had carpaccio in a very long time. Probably my favorite Italian dish of all time. Like, that's something that I would say is worth going out to a restaurant for. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the way to the Rialto. it's amazing because all of this was shut tight last year. Maybe one or two places were open. Again, really at the end of the day, it's just more knickknacks. It's not necessarily a lot of the things that are properly Venetian, maybe things that represent it, like masks and so on. But definitely nice to see again the difference. I know I keep repeating myself here, but I definitely recommend, if you watch my last video, you'll get a lot about what I'm talking about, because it was just haunting, horrifying, very pleasant, but also haunting and horrifying. And here we are at the Rialto Bridge. I'm gonna take you guys on the outside because definitely a much better view. I mean, what a place. There's some shopping on the inside, and we'll go take a look at that in a second, but this is the view that whenever you see the big, like, grand views from Venice, this is the place. And normally along this railway here is packed with tourists taking pictures, but even though I do live close by, I'm gonna be a tourist today. Let's take a selfie. And now that my touristic obligations are through, now I'll show you a little bit in here. There's some of these little shops, as I was saying, with the touristy things. This is the street that I just came down from. But, whoops, excuse me. This is where we want to be going, because this will take us in the direction of Piazza San Marco. Yeah, this is another one of those places that was very empty last year. Everybody walking around with masks. Now there's almost not a mask in sight to see. Unfortunately, I feel as though the closer I get to Piazza San Marco, the less likely that it's going to be that I actually get something like really good for lunch. So maybe I'll have to go back there, but I may have to give in and go to a tourist trap. Sometimes when you're traveling, you just gotta give in, because sometimes that's your only choice. Now I'm starting to get reminded of some of the aspects that I'm not so crazy about Venice. The weaving in and out of crowds. I turned off the cameras for those parts, because who wants to see that? But thankfully, still not overly busy, but had a few close calls, almost some people knocking into me. Alright, so I found a place a little on the touristy side, and it's definitely on one of the main drags, but it seemed like a decent enough location. Have a small quick lunch. Ordered carpaccio and gnocchi. Oh, here's the first course, and something very unusual. Bread with garlic and butter and stuff. Or maybe it's just olive oil and oregano, but raw beef, that's what it looks like. And it is very delicious. Very good. A little bit thick for my liking, and also the balsamic was a little bit on the sweet side, but I still very much enjoyed it. The bread, not half bad, but here's my second portion, my second course, and definitely a very happy camper. Well, that was delicious. Just in case anybody is curious about this place, Ristorante Marco Polo, you can find it there. Definitely was good. I'm not going to say it was the best gnocchi I've ever had in my life, but the carpaccio I definitely enjoyed. Again though, not the best carpaccio I've had, but for a nice little place to take a little rest and have a quick lunch while you're here in Venice, good. But definitely catered to a non-Italian palate. by no means bad. A little interesting to see how the presentation and the flavors were just a little bit different. It was definitely not something that I would normally expect from eating at like a local restaurant. Although it was very interesting to me, it was fascinating that the table that I was sitting at there, ciao, come stai? Ciao.
Tutto bene?
Bene, te?
Molto bene.
Ciao. As I was just about to say, it was very interesting also at the restaurant.
Ciao.
Ciao, buongiorno. It was also very interesting to me to see. I keep getting interrupted. It was very interesting to see the service that I was given in comparison to the table right next to me. I was speaking to them in Italian, but they were speaking the next table in English. They were Dutch speakers, but I can say there was a slight difference. They were still very, very nice to the people next to me. But when you go to a country, if you're able to speak their language, and this doesn't just go for Italy, this goes for literally anywhere. If you can speak their language to them, the way you get treated completely changes, even if it's small things. But if you can actually communicate, then that makes a bigger difference. Especially when traveling here in the summer, I really recommend keeping an eye open for supermarkets or little markets, because if you need water, those are going to be the cheapest places to go to. If you go to any type of little corner market like a little tobacco store, you're going to pay a higher price. But even if you go into those places, if it's in a refrigerator, you will pay more than if it's just like sitting on a shelf like normally. So one thing to keep in mind. Thankfully for now, I'm definitely good when it comes to water, so I don't need to run into anywhere to grab any. But you see what I mean. Now there's a lot more tourists, so some of these little side streets that would normally be even more packed with people are still pretty darn packed with people walking through that you'll need to weave in and out of. So definitely getting closer to what Venice used to be pre-COVID. And we have arrived. We're on the backside of the piazza right now. But I can see already definitely is representative of a lot of the other parts of the city that we've walked through, that fewer people than normal, but more people than last year. But what's really amazing is that it's the middle of the day, like right around lunchtime, and almost nobody. 2:28, so a little late for lunch, but still, what's shocking to me is how few people are sitting at the cafes. Okay, granted, this place is in the sun, but still, normally you would see this piazza packed full of people, all taking pictures, taking selfies, doing the thing that you do when you come to Venice. And yeah, there are people doing that now. It's having fun, taking their pictures and everything. But still not quite like how it was. Granted, travel is still restricted to many parts of the world. But it's still refreshing to see some people back here. I think maybe I'll check out this place. It's bound to have a pretty decent little view of the background here. And I would like to try to record one more episode while I'm here, like a more podcast sit down kind of episode. So maybe I'll see what the deal is with this place, if they have a menu that I can kind of check out. And because the thing that I'm concerned about, these types of places, the coperto, can be ridiculous. Yeah, even like just 3 scoops of ice cream, $15.50. Unbelievable. Tiramisu, $14.50. Well, I was drinking a tea over at this place over on the far side of the piazza. Accidentally bumped it. I'm like sopping wet. The good thing is that it is a hot day today, so it should be mostly dry and just a little bit here. But one thing I want to do, which I haven't done in one of these episodes, like kind of going out and about, especially not here in Venice, is that I haven't taken you guys actually onto the canals. And so what I'm thinking is that I would like to go and take a vaporetto, like one of the city water buses, and take that back to the train station, because from here at the piazza, probably one of the fastest ways to get back. Oh wait, what am I doing? Put this back on because I went in to pay. But we can walk with fresh air now. What an idea, what a novel idea. So I was speaking to a waiter at one of these restaurants, and he said, if I come up here, that there should be a place that I can go in and buy a ticket. Because if I'm not mistaken, at this stop here by Piazza San Marco, I don't believe that they have the machines where you can actually pay for the ticket, but you have to go, generally speaking, to like a tobacco store or a special store where you can buy tickets. Sometimes there'll be a place where you can go and just simply buy tickets. Let's see. I don't know. I guess I'll find out if it's here or not. In this city, I vaguely remember the prices for the water bus being less expensive. A one-way ticket costs €7.50. I don't know if it's because that was like a tourist point or if that's the normal price, but regardless, when you're in Venice, don't expect for things to be low cost. And be sure to take a look at the menus if you are here on Piazza San Marco and you do want to sit at one of these cafes with a great view. Yes, the view is great, and you do pay for that. So like this place here, they were charging an extra €5 for the live music. So that's something you want to keep in mind. I don't know if it's because I was speaking to them in Italian that they warned me that there was an extra cost for sitting there while music was playing, or what the deal was, but just something to look in mind. Some places charge a cover charge on top of what you would normally have. Other places will include it into the price. Like on that corner over there where I had a tea earlier, the price for actually sitting there was included. This place over here, last year when I was here, it was also included, but definitely look at the menus, triple check. Unfortunately, there have been stories of people being taken advantage of in Venice, and when you hear about those stories, generally speaking, they're right on this piazza, because this is an extremely touristy place. Even people who I know in the town where I live, not so far away, they're like, when I said that I went for my birthday last year and I had a juice here, they're like, "Were you crazy? You must have paid €100 just for a cup of coffee." And I was like, not quite, but it happens. Also, if you do happen to speak Italian and you don't really have an accent, that'll help. If you have an accent, might be a little bit of a different story. So, coming out here to this beautiful part of the lagoon, it's not here at this stand where you want to catch the water bus, because this is where the gondolas are. You have to go down a little bit to the left and you'll be able to get the water bus a lot less expensive. Trust me, it's definitely a lot less expensive. Not cheap to begin with, but definitely, if you are looking to save during your trip here, taking the taxis, also the water taxis, can be quite pricey. Gondolas especially so. And the gondolas, it's more like you're going on a nice little ride, not really so much for getting around, so like a taxi, but the vaporetto or water bus is definitely an easier way of getting around the town. But it's very much worth walking through the city, because you get a really nice feeling for what it is and what's here. And especially if you're a little tired, it's been a long day, and you've already maybe seen the city before, taking a vaporetto, definitely worth it. Some of you may know this place from pictures also, the Bridge of Sighs, where they used to bring people who had been convicted of crimes and so on. If I'm not mistaken, on my history at least, they would bring them across. They'd have their last look out at freedom, sigh, and then go on. Well, here we are, and this is I'm pretty sure where I'm supposed to be. The woman said 42 or 52, so I'm gonna triple check with someone here. Hard to get a better view. And what a view it was. And this brings us to the conclusion of this week's episode of Not Your Average Globetrotter. Of course, as always, I'm Rafael de Furia. Thank you all so much for joining me again, and a huge thank you to those of you who help make episodes like this possible through rafaeldefuria.com/Patreon, patreon.com/rafaeldefuria, and for those of you who also contributed one time via PayPal, and also those of you who have bought the shirts, onesies, mugs, and more. Thank you all so very much for helping to make this content possible and allowing me to continue with this project. And of course, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you again for joining me for another Friday night. I'm Rafael de Furia, and I'll see you all next time. Later.